Hello everyone and welcome to Indigo Empire. In this video I just wanted to ask what's the point of anything whatsoever. Um, this may be a kind of a depressing question, or maybe some people just have the answer. There are some people that are just happy-go-lucky, uh, always optimistic, and that's good, that's fine too. But when you really think about it, when you really get to the root of it, what is the meaning of anything? So that the common idea is that we are born, uh, we are dependent on our parents for some years. We learn to work on ourselves, to be independent. We study, we work, we have kids if we are able to, and then we get old. Some of us get sick, and then eventually we die. So what is the point? And then you have this YOLO mentality. You only live once. But I question, has it been scientifically proven that you only live once? Like I don't understand exactly where that idea come from to begin with. Because if we are to view this question seriously, what's the meaning of anything? So then we would have to ask, well, what gives life meaning? Like what is meaningful? What is not meaningful? We would also have to ask that question, and that question, it depends on the personality of each individual. Um, so it's a subjective question. It's not an objective question. What gives your life meaning? Now, to some people, having a family is meaningful. It gives them meaning. So, they have maybe more kids. They live for their kids. They die for their kids, and they are happy doing that. Um, but if that does not make you happy, maybe you feel that's empty. Maybe you want something more. Then what exactly? Now maybe you want to be an actor, or maybe you want to be a singer. Maybe you want to play in a band. Maybe you want to be a scientist, or maybe you want to be something special. But often the how the system works, it doesn't allow you to do many of the things that you would like to do, in the sense that to be able to survive you have to pay with so much of your time that you barely have no time left to do the things that you really want to do. So you also have this kind of like uh, responsibility towards the society. In one sense, some people accept that responsibility without issues. Some other people rebels against that um, responsibility, because I guess um, we cannot deny that when you live in a community, in union, every person should do their part. Obviously there are people that are just sucking out of the work of others, and they don't do their part. But we should not copy the bad habits of others. So some people, they don't do it, that's their issue. uh, that's life. But so how what we would actually want to do, maybe we are not able to do it. Also things are expensive sometimes. Also some educations are also so expensive that we cannot afford it. So what is the point then if you cannot live the life that you want to live? So my question is, well, how do we even know if we only live once? The issue at hand, is it related to how long we live? Like, I suppose that if we lived 200 years instead of 70 or 80 or 90 years, it would maybe be better. Then we also have to ask, but if we live 200 years, would we have the strength and energy as youth until we were 100? And from the 100 year on, then we will start to like decay slowly. So it's not like at 40 years old we are already a bit tired, and then for 160 years we have half the energy or less than when we were 25. But the idea is that, if you would live longer, would that give life more meaning because you knew you would have more time to do the things that you really want to do? um, and then what if you don't live once? What if you live 10 times or 100 times or 1,000 times, or all the times that you want to live? So we can trace humans back how long, like 12,500 years, something like that. Like, as far as archaeology goes, maybe more. I have not checked it, so it could be a much more, but I know that, like, the Sumerian kingdom, then we are talking about like 7,000 years ago, and those were the first one, like, to invent what we know as writing. And then we can find, artifacts from before that time too. I also know that it can be difficult to date items that are older than 10,000 years. um, but let's say 15,000 years. Now, if one generation lasts for 20 years, that will give us how many generations? Like 15,000, 20. So 20,000 would be 1,000 generations. So it's less than a thousand generation. Not that long. Anyway, let's say that you live several lives. Then what's the meaning? Then what's the meaning of this life would be the question. What was the meaning of the last life? What is the meaning going to be of the next life? So then the question becomes a little bit more interesting. Obviously, we cannot observe our earlier lives, and we cannot observe the future because future doesn't exist. Um, the only thing that exists is the present, and the past doesn't exist, but we have memories of the past. So the only thing that exists is our memory, our thoughts, and the present. That's the only thing that exists. So we cannot observe things beyond that. But if we live for 100 lives, then the question becomes different. Uh, then, like, would you mind die if you know you're going to live more times? Now, if we knew we were going to live for 100 years, it would probably make us more lazy. Maybe it would make us not hurry up. Maybe it would demotivate us in some sense. So there is like this bittersweet balance between the idea of living many lives without knowing it. There is also a theory in a book that I have in the book of the Spiritists book. It talks about why we do not remember our past lives, and its explanation is that we do not want to remember all the embarrassing things we have done in all our lives. And I think that's a good enough reason, because I have done some embarrassing things I would gladly not remember in my next life. So I guess that's a price that I'm willing to pay. But I think that the YOLO thing is not accurate. It doesn't have to be accurate. Uh, maybe like a foolish. I think it's a bit foolish, because we actually don't know. According also to Spiritism and to um, other spiritual schools. I don't know if you can call it schools or branches. Uh, there is this concept called a soul contract, and a soul contract is the contract which the soul writes before incarnating again. So the idea is that before you are born in human form, the soul already decides what life it's going to live. It knows about the trials he's going to have, what kind of family he's going to grow up in, where he's going to grow up, and all of those kinds of things. So it already decides the pains and pleasure it's going to have. So, from a spiritual viewpoint, from a viewpoint of the soul, The purpose of life, the meaning of life, is to learn a new lecture or several new lectures each time, so that you can grow on that, of those experiences. That's what the meaning of life is for a spirit. It can fail or it can succeed. If it fails, it will have to do that life over again at another time. So, in one sense, life is just like one big ritual. It's like one big play, uh, and you do it over again and over again and over again, but with a little bit different settings. So it's like a game, an ever-changing game, which has a bit of new rules and a bit of new settings every time. So it's a way for the spirit to play or the soul to play. It is a way for the soul to learn, and it's a way for us to, you know, do do leave our fingerprints in history on an Earth's surface. So, like, from the spiritual view, that's the meaning of everything. That's the meaning of life. And according also to spiritism and to several spiritual branches that believes in reincarnation, the oh, what was the thought? I lost the thought. It's the what was it? Oh well, I forgot it. I will mention it in another video. But you may disagree, and that's completely fine too. In the end, if we reincarnate, and you don't believe it, you will still reincarnate. uh, your consciousness will go into another body starting from zero. Maybe you will just have some tiny glimpse from your past that pops up in dreams, or in brief moments of deja vu or something like that. So it doesn't actually make a difference. If it is true, it's true. If it's not, it's not. But at least it, in my opinion, it can make life a little bit um, easier, maybe, or a little bit more easier to handle, maybe a little bit less depressing. Like, if you are already thinking like philosophically in these terms, that life is sad, life has no meaning, you might as well accept or considerate theories um, concerning life. So that, but I believe in reincarnation. Uh, is To me, it's like the most fair theory out there. It would be either that or die forever, like one or the other. And I'm more on the side of reincarnation, because energy does not die; it transforms. Our consciousness, our self-conscious, as far as is not linked to a specific organ. In quantum physics, they suggest that consciousness and self-consciousness, uh, like, it originates from outside of the body, outside the head. So it may be, because you have this thing called phantom limb syndrome, that, like, you can lose a limb, like your arm, but the brain will still try to send consciousness to that limb which is missing. Uh, and also, we don't need our senses. Our physical senses is not necessary to be able to smell, to hear, and to see, because in our dreams we don't observe anything physically or directly, but we see them as images within our mind. So we have these tiny clues, uh, which supports the idea, and sometimes that's just enough. Just enough to keep the fire burning. So I will leave it at that. I will prepare the next video. So thank you for watching, and welcome back at any time.